security guard in Elmont, he actually left Elmont. He had said something to me that was very, very disturbing, and it's something that stayed with me. And I didn't say nothing because I didn't want to make the situation bigger than. Well, no, I should have definitely said something at the time, but I guess being young, I was scared to. But one time, my friends and I, we were playing music in the locker room, and a security guard said to me, "Turn that colored music off." And I don't know, from that day on, it's like it for one, it hurt me because at such a young age, I was never exposed to like anything racist or any like I was just never exposed to a person like that. And just going through that at such a young age, I feel like that really like molded my mind into what it is today. And that's something that I could say it definitely stuck with me for my whole high school career. So I'm glad you asked that question because it just feels good to let it out.
But when I was like in eighth grade, ninth grade, I remember when it's not. I don't feel like any of the teachers were necessarily racist or they ever said some sort of remarks to me, because I feel like I didn't really have a reason to upset them. But I feel like it was in the classroom when you're sitting with other kids. I feel like it was mainly at the time because a lot of the kids at such a young age were immature and they like it was just I feel like it used to make me feel like I'm stand out, like I'm not normal, like I'm not like everyone else. Like I feel like I can't be accepted for who I am and my religion. And it was just things that they would say. It would hurt. It wouldn't really hurt. It would just upset me because I feel like at some point it's like they're not educated about certain things, and certain things that are shown, they're not really what they are. Like a lot of things that are said about Muslims in general. Like kids used to say stuff like go blow something up or something like that. I feel like everyone sees the whole Muslim population as one body, and one person does something wrong, if they feel like everybody's wrong in that sense. In that case, I would feel like if any other group of people, if they were to do something wrong, like if one person out of that was to do something wrong, you wouldn't say all of them are wrong. Like if you were to find one bad grape in a patch of grapes, you would say that one grape is bad. You wouldn't say all the grapes have gone bad. So I feel like just like especially at such a young age when you feel like like someone's heart and mind is so pure they wouldn't even think of something like that, but when you say something to you say something to a young mind like that, it just like it really sticks, and it really like I feel like it scars someone at such a young age to feel like they're not accepted by people.
People try to make fun of how my name is, stuff like that. And then also, I remember one time, like this was elementary school, but it still counts as Elmont. So this teacher came in as a substitute and was saying my name, and then they tried to say like they couldn't pronounce it, so then they just said like something that was just so foul to me. Like they just went over the name. They were like, "Who is this? Come up, point out your name." And then I felt like they didn't care about like my race or anything because they just couldn't read it, and they felt like it was just a blow over.
From my experiences with an Elmont, when I was younger, like in seventh and eighth grade, there was this girl, and I didn't really understand like this math problem. And like when I asked her for help, she was just like, "Oh, come on, you're Asian. Like it's in your blood. You should know this by now." I'm just like, okay, but I didn't like it was a stereotype. And then like there's always those things about like Asians eating dogs and stuff. And then definitely when coronavirus did start to spread in March, I did feel like a little scared because I did have a little cold to cough. I was definitely scared to do that around people. So I tried to keep it in as much as I can just so I didn't get picked on and people be like, "Oh, she has corona, she has corona." So, yeah.
I would say junior high, it's definitely volatile. Everyone tries to fit in junior high. So they try to go to the extremes to do something that, will get them recognized or speak without really knowing what they're speaking about. And there've definitely been some words against my culture in junior high, but as we progress, as we talk to more people of different race and culture, and as we try to come to an understanding, I would say like pretty much everyone in my grade right now, 12th grade, are pretty much understanding, and some of them have made mistakes in the past, but it's it's a learning cycle that we've come out of junior high. But a lot of what I faced was definitely in junior high, not pretty much high school.
I think I agree with what Wally said about junior high. Definitely when I was younger, I'm Haitian and a lot of my culture was kind of like I didn't really experience it getting attacked until like 7th and 8th grade, where I'd be like walking around and people would be like, so you eat cats, right? You do voodoo, right? And I'd be like, what? And you would just kind of, I felt a little, I didn't really know how to deal with it at the time. And I'd never really experienced someone disrespecting my culture, disrespecting my people. And I never felt shame because of it. Until I reached 7th and 8th grade, where I was like, oh, like, what's wrong with Haitians? Why are we getting picked on? And then I think as I've grown up, like Wally said, it goes from it being something where they make fun of you to they kind of appreciate my culture now, where it's like before I would get made fun of for eating soup jumu, but now I take the time to educate the person rather than get annoyed or defensive. I decide to like tell them, here's the history behind it. And then it turns into an appreciation and a curiosity about the culture rather than it being something where they can attack you. So yeah.
Like personally, I think that like for me, especially during middle school, what I dealt with was a lot of like colorism, for example. That can be kind of bad. Even being in a like majority, minority school, dealing with colorism from groups of your own race, even culture, can feel kind of invalidating. But one thing that I've also noticed from like the student body in general is kind of like a battle or a tug of war between like cultures, people trying to invalidate someone else's culture to say that their culture is better, or say that some people have no culture or whatever. That's one thing that I have noticed a lot of in Elmont. I don't think it's necessarily specific to Elmont, but it does happen, and it's happened a lot. I've seen it firsthand on multiple occasions.
When I was in 8th grade, the Spanish class, these two boys would always talk about Haitians, and it's unprovoked. Like, they would say, "Oh, you eat fish heads?" Basically everything else that other people said, and it was not just like, "Oh, Sunday is over." They said it every single day, so it was really annoying, and it really like made me feel kind of bad for my culture. Like, dang, it's really that bad to be Haitian, and it wasn't just like, oh, they said it one day, every single day, so it was really just super annoying. So.
Specifically in Elmont, since I've gotten here, I haven't experienced much aside from the occasional, Allah Akbar in the hallways to me because, like, why not? But I remember in middle school, like Akim Wali said, it was way worse because people would just like see me in class and think, let me just be funny, let me just, gain some popularity. So then they would just say, shouldn't you be blowing up some buildings or something? And I'm like, no, I shouldn't be, because I feel like back then things like this were taken so lightly. Like even the teacher in the situation, he didn't do anything. He heard it, he acknowledged it, and he moved on with his day. And I feel like I hope that in Elmont, if a situation ever occurred like this, the teacher would act differently. But then again, I don't think any of my classmates would say such a thing because I feel like a lot of the students here are more understanding than students like in other places and like a few years ago.
We've all mostly been in Elmont since elementary school, and I remember all throughout elementary school, especially like around 6th grade and like going into Elmont 7th grade, I never really expressed, that I'm literally just African American. Like from my ancestors in Africa, they were brought to South Carolina, so I am literally African, like American. And all the different cultures in Elmont, like everyone is from, just different countries, and their families like came here. I always kind of felt like I wasn't like as good as everyone else because they would always, have their cultures and all of the different like Caribbean and African and Middle East and all of these different cultures, and they all came here, and I'm just like here, like my family's just like been here, and it would kind of make me feel like inferior that I didn't have that, immigrant culture. And I took a long time to get comfortable with the fact that I'm like from America, and then I finally did. But then recently there was, as Ian said, the whole, oh, African Americans don't have culture, and just the diaspora just putting each other down. And it kind of made me remember when I didn't accept who I was. But luckily at the time that happened, I was already comfortable with my history and my heritage. So it didn't really affect me. But if I was still in that mindset of not really accepting my culture, then I feel like that kind of would have put me in a little like sad place, I guess. But I just feel like we need to like not really have the whole diaspora wars in the Black community. And we just all need to accept that at the end of the day, no matter where our ancestors ended up, whether it's the Caribbean or America, we all came from Africa. So we are all family. So I just feel like, yeah, that shouldn't really be a topic of discussion anymore.
It's coming from my own personal experience. I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, but within the Caribbean culture, sometimes I'll be talking to my relatives, whether they're in Trinidad or Jamaica, and they're talking like out of this superior type of way, as if like they're not African Americans themselves. I don't know. It's like, it's almost like some type of internalized like racism. I don't know how to really explain it, but I feel like sometimes as African Americans, we don't really see the other side that other African Americans have experienced, because we all have a different experience with being African American. So I think sometimes we definitely need to educate ourselves about other African American cultures as well.